Hello and welcome to You Make the Difference. I'm Wanda Scarborough and I have as my guest today Candy Gibson. Candy and her husband Brian are starting a new ministry in the Troup County area called Crossover Ministries. And we're going to talk to Candy today about how it got started, how her passion bloomed, and where she is with the ministry today. So I know, Candy, that you received, your husband and you received some prophecies about what the Lord had in mind for you. So would you start and share those prophecies with us?
Yes, ma'am. Probably 12, 13 years ago, a visiting pastor at Callaway Park, Church of God, just stopped service and just spoke to my husband and said, God has big plans for you. And of course, then Brian didn't want any attention.
Yes.
And he just kind of said, okay, and so in 2000, didn't really think much about it until 2007. Our pastor spoke over Brian as well and said, God has big, plans for you, and said the same words. And said, I don't know what it is, but he's going to use you, and he's got big plans. That same word. A few months later, another pastor also spoke over Brian and our family as well, and said, not only what you will do, Ashland will do, and God will tell you exactly what to do, when to do it, and you won't have to worry about it. He'll tell you what it is.
Yes.
Since then we've had a few dreams. Brian's had a couple of dreams. I remember one dream, and when you have a dream, it's spiritual. It's completely different from anything else. One of the dreams that I had was watching an angel or a leader of the Lord giving out scrolls or pieces of paper to a group of people that were standing in front of them, and I knew what they were doing, that it was a mission.
Yes.
And I remember looking and saying it would be so nice, if I had a mission, not thinking that I would.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, she just looked at me and said, "You have a mission." And I remember in the dream, I remember reading the instructions, but when I woke up, I couldn't remember what those instructions were.
Wow.
I just remembered there was a list of instructions. And that list of instructions also reminded me of what Brother Theo said when he spoke over Brian, and said he will tell you specifically, give you instructions on how to do it, how, when, and what you're to do.
Yes, it would have been wonderful if you could have remembered all of those instructions.
Right.
But really what you've had to do is just kind of walk out this mission. And it came from a passion that you have in your heart. And tell us about that passion and how it developed into Crossover Ministries.
From an early age, I've always loved social work. But my passion was to be a Christian social worker. But at the time, there was no job that you could apply for Christian social work. So I went to college, obtained my degree, and went to work with DFACS and loved social work.
Yes.
But Christian social work was always my passion, and but I didn't know how to get there. I didn't know what job to apply for in Christian social work because there just wasn't any in the church. In my job with WIA, we were sent to a conference and workforce development, and I met a group of people from Life Tech in Thomaston, Alabama, and Third Cross Ministries, and they were Christian social work aspect of Life Tech.
Yes.
And from there, everything just fell into place. It just put a fire and a passion in me that I just cannot get away from. And I've learned a lot. They've shared a lot with me. People have come, since then to just confirm, things that God had said, and confirm the passion and the vision of Crossover. And I really believe in my spirit that crossover, not just crossover, the name, but what we're doing, I really believe it's to help the church, not just a church, but the body of Christ, to learn how to take back social work and conduct Christian social work. And I know there's people that do it, of course, but to do it as the body of Christ.
Yes.
Because government, working in government, in social work, through DFACS and various agencies, the government will tell you, we don't have the answer. We can reduce risk, and we can protect, and we can give resources to help somebody get through. But it's the church, and I really believe it's the church that has the answer when it comes to rehabilitating lives and changing lives and mentoring people, and that's where my passion is, and that's what my vision for Crossover Ministries.
And with Crossover, who are you going to serve?
Offenders, felony offenders, or anyone in crisis. But we definitely want to work with those in crisis and the offenders, and to help reduce recidivism in not only in our community, but help others in other areas.
Tell us a little bit about the model that you plan to use.
Okay. Well, we Third Cross Ministries uses a workshop called True Thought. True Thought, and it's a workshop. It's a cognitive type curriculum that helps them think. And you can't just take somebody through a workshop and expect them to go implement what you've told them and what you've showed them. They're where they're at because of their history, their life experiences, and it's hard to undo all that. So you can't just set them in a workshop and expect them to give you the results.
Yes.
But True Thought also lets them think about what they're doing, think about what they can do in the future, and it gives them practice, and it helps them to kind of practice behavior. But there's other workshops as well, life skills, even financial management, and helping that person as a whole, through Christian mentoring and Bible study, and just as a whole helping that individual have all the tools that he will need or she will need to become successful in life.
Because we've talked about this before, and I know you've given me some examples of how somebody coming out of prison who's been in there for several years, probably 10, whatever, and they're all of a sudden they're ready to come out and be a part of society again. And they may have some problems, like even using the ATM or knowing what a debit card is and how to use it and those kinds of things. And you really, through working at the transitional center here, began to have also a heart for those that are coming out of prison, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So, the passion has developed, and you've got a way that you're planning to fund this. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. We're planning to build Simply Fudge. It's a fundraising business that not only raises money for Crossover, but it also helps, churches, nonprofits. We all do fundraisers.
Yes.
But it helps, churches in the community raise money, but also Crossover. But not only that, it helps with on-the-job training and work experience for our participants to overcome those barriers to even employment, to get them, trained or some kind of work experience, so that they can prove to employers that they can follow directions. They have those soft skills. They've submitted to this program, the workshops and the on-the-job training or the work experience, the volunteer work. And we can take that and go to employers and people in our community and say, okay, these are the ones that submitted through the process, and they're committed to changing their life and proving them that they're worthy for another chance. so I would like to go to the employers and say, okay, we've tried them, they've succeeded. These are the people you can take a chance with and you can hire, because you know, the barrier for reoffending is they really do, one of the biggest barriers is they need to be self-sufficient. They need employment.
Yes.
And this is a way, hopefully, one of the ways that they can learn how to overcome that, and employers can take a chance and hire them again.
Now, where did you get your fudge recipe?
And it's a family friend's recipe. It's my mom's recipe that she got through a friend, and we've kind of tweaked, played with, but it's just an old family recipe. It's nothing special. I'm sure there's other recipes out like it, but it's wonderful. Everybody that's tried it, wants us to make it again.
Yes.
So it's.
And one of the things that I find really unique about this is that your name is Candy. And the Lord is giving you a Simply Fudge business to be able to help train these individuals and also bring in funding for the mission. And that is really wonderful, isn't it? I mean, and that's so sweet of the Lord. And He does things like that in our life to let us know, hey, I know exactly who you are. I planned that your name would be Candy. And, I planned this ministry. It's Crossover Ministry, and I have planned how to fund it. And so it's just really sweet. Now, I know that you plan to have a website. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. And
you're going to sell the candy through the website?
Yes, ma'am, and to partner with churches, not only in our area but our region. Everyone does fundraisers. Everyone needs to raise money, and why not do business with a Christian ministry?
Yes.
So that's our plans for that.
And they'll benefit by taking a share of the profit.
We will split profits 50-50.
Yes.
And 100% of all the profit goes to ministry, but Crossover's of course profit will go right back into the ministry. And what Crossover doesn't need, we plan to use for to help other charities within our community and other people in crisis.
Yes.
So 100% goes to ministry.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit more about Life Tech.
Okay.
I know their recidivism rate is what, 10%? And then this year down to 9%?
To 9%.
And what's the average recidivism rate of people coming out of prison?
When Life Tech started, this is a prison in Alabama. When it first started, recidivism was 85% or more. And within 3 to 5 years, within 3 years, they had turned it to 10% with the population that they were serving. And in this particular prison, only the highest offenders were there. So they took, I don't want to say the worst of the worst, but I mean they took the
most likely to reoffend.
Reoffend and placed them there, and have taken those from 85% recidivism to 10%. And as of 2012, this year, they're at 9%.
That's wonderful.
And the whole program is everyone in the community working together simultaneously for that individual. It takes the church.
Yes.
It takes that mentoring and that Christian guidance. It takes the technical college because they need skills. It takes community and employers to give them a chance once they've proved themselves again. And of course, it takes pardons and paroles, and and it also takes voc rehab and mental health, and working through addictions and mental health issues and things like that. But it's everyone coming together,
yes,
and working together for that individual. And if one spoke or one part is taken out, they will tell you it does not work. It takes everyone.
Yes.
but that's their
and
success.
I remember I went with you to look at Life Tech, and I remember when we went that they had places that the men were actually learning skills so that they could be employed right there where they were. And it was they were in this program toward the end of their time in prison, and so they were given a little bit more freedom, and they were learning those skills, but were being allowed to go out into society some, right? Maybe supervised to go into like Walmart and maybe use a debit card or learn what the ATM machine was and those kinds of things. So as you've thought about it, have you begun to build partnerships for crossover ministries? Where are you with that, or what's your vision for that?
My vision, LaGrange, our community is just, we're blessed.
We are.
With resources. Life Tech in Alabama, they did not have the resources. They had to bring the resources on campus because they didn't have the resources that we do in our community. We have, Workforce Investment Act, WIA. We have, Voc Rehab, the Technical College. We have all, those resources, mental health, right here in our community. Crossover will not only, and this is very important too, the case management and the follow-up, the mentoring and the accountability. Somebody say, okay, now we got to be accountable. We've got to follow through, and somebody watching them and to make sure that you're going to your meetings, you're going to your appointments. You're not only going, but you're participating. You're and making sure that all of these resources are being utilized for that person, and so we will help with case management. That'll relieve, I believe, eventually relieve case management from probation and maybe even the courts. We can give them follow up instead of them having to go out and see what they're doing themselves. We can give them some feedback. But we're very blessed with resources.
We are. And you're also planning to recruit volunteers to help you, right? And
yes,
volunteers from the church, definitely.
Family, church, whoever's interested and has a passion, for helping people in crisis and doing Christian social work.
Well, Candy, you're also with WIA.
Yes, ma'am.
And WIA stands for?
Workforce Investment Act. I'm employed for Central Georgia Workforce Development Corporation. They facilitate the Workforce Investment Act in this area. And what WIA can do for individuals is overcome barriers to employment with intensive job search and but they also, if education is a barrier to employment, they can possibly pay for occupational skills training, up to 2 years of college.
Yes.
They also target offenders and people in crisis, people that need to, become self-sufficient.
Do you have a lot of people applying for WIA?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And it also helps with books and things when you're going to college, is that right?
Tuition, possibly child care expenses.
Yes. And so it was, with working with WIA, that will make it easy for you to know already what WIA can provide and also build that into your program. And then in WIA, you also work at the Transitional Center. Or go there, right?
I did.
And so I'm sure they're going to partner with you, is that right?
Yes, ma'am, I would think so.
Yes. And so who do you have on your board?
Miss Wanda.
Yeah, on the
Scarborough.
board, yes.
Miss Deborah Slaughter, she's superintendent of the Transition Center. Mr. Mike Meredith.
Yes.
And of course my husband, Brian Gibson. Wonderful board.
Yes. And so when do you see yourself beginning the fundraiser portion of the program?
Immediately.
Immediately.
We can start. We have everything that we need to start immediately.
Yes.
And we are looking for maybe a couple of sponsor partners who can maybe do some fundraisers for us to help us, start. But regardless, we can start immediately.
So that's churches. You're looking for churches, right?
Or nonprofits.
Or nonprofits who want to do a fundraiser and are looking for something to sell.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you're going to provide the chocolate, and they'll be able to sell it, and then you'll also be able to share in the profits with that.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that'll be good. And so, how far down the road do you think it will be before you begin to serve those that are coming out of prison or have other problems?
Our launch goal is January 2013, but I'm hoping that as we move forward, that it can maybe even be December, November. But immediately, because I can't wait to get started.
Yes.
But we want everything in place.
And also, you tested out the curriculum here and taught some classes, right? You went to Fellowship, Deliverance Outreach
The men's
Ministry.
shelter.
How did that go?
Good, very well. Some of the men in the shelter still come to the Department of Labor and see us.
Yeah.
And ask for me. I think it went very well, and it gave us a chance to really see how the program it will work and successful. But I can't wait to do it again, and maybe another shelter or through a church.
Yes. And so, we were talking earlier before the show about how God has given you what you need bit by bit. You had that scroll, you read everything that the Lord had outlined, but you had to re-experience or come upon it as, I guess, the timing was right. It reminds me of the stories that I've heard about people who have died and gone to heaven, and then when they come back, they can remember portions of what they saw, but not everything. And I remember a lady said that she saw into her future while she was in heaven, but then when she got back, she couldn't remember. But as things happened, she remembered that she had already known that, already seen those things.
Wow.
So can you just walk me through a little bit of how God has let you discover the plan?
Wow. Yeah, and it doesn't happen the way I assume or think it would. Yeah, God doesn't work the way we think He will, but He's perfect, and it's so much better than what we could assume. But just His still small voice, and through His Word, and thoughts too that didn't come from you. I could not have thought of that. But also through people like you and even our pastors, Pastor Mark and Michelle Davenport.
Yes.
He is a social worker. And when I found out that he was coming to our church, and he is a social worker, and that's his passion, it was just like little confirmations, over and over. Meeting you with Troop Transformation was amazing.
Thank you.
And through WIA and the conference that we went through, and having a chance to meet Third Cross Ministries and how they work with Life Tech.
Yes.
And how that could fit so easily within our community. We have new ventures.
Yes.
With Mr. Dave Miller, who is doing amazing social work.
Yes.
And I was just talking to him the other day, and it's amazing how much he is already doing, and his plans are so much what Life Tech is doing. And it's just confirmation how things are. The spokes on the wheel is coming together.
Yeah. And I just want to say that, this program, You Make the Difference, part of what we're doing here is bringing people on the show that have a Christian vision. And, you know, we want them to be able to present it and get it out in the atmosphere in Troup County and the surrounding areas, so, you know, that God can just surround what we're saying and doing and start moving, and that people get excited and want to join. And so one of the things that I want to mention too is when we first talked about crossovers, I remember you telling me, you know, you had this dream and vision, and I said, and maybe you said, I'm not sure how to bring it forth, and I said, well, you know, just know that it's going to happen and begin to act as though it's going to happen, and begin to take steps and move forward and visualize what it is and what you would have to do to get to that point. And, you know, just whatever the first thing is that you would need to do, just do that. And then see what God opens up. And then when God opens up the next step, then you do that. And that sounds like exactly what you've done.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
You know, he for me, he doesn't show you the whole vision or the whole result. I don't even think we see the whole result now.
Yeah.
But he shows you step by step. And, you know, sometimes we can get a little frustrated because we don't know what the future is, but that's his perfect plan. Because when we get there and we look back, he's just surrounded us with confirmation of how he put things together. We didn't do it.
Yeah.
You know, he put things together. And that's exactly the way it happened.
Our spiritual vision is 2020 then, right? And I just want to say to those that are watching that you saw that the Lord gave missions to a lot of different people, didn't you? And I am sure that the Lord has planted within you dreams and visions, and that he has a mission for you. And I just want to encourage you to seek out that vision and your destiny that the Lord has given you, and just visualize what it is. Lots of times we know it in our heart what it is, but don't know how to get there. But begin to just make those first steps toward accomplishing what the Lord has given you to do. And I would just, Lord, I just ask you to open the eyes, the spiritual eyes of the people who are watching, and the spiritual ears, so that they can see and hear what you're speaking into their lives and move on it. And remember, you make the difference. Thank you for watching.